All right, baby. We are live in effect in the Locker Room Show. Thank you for joining us. This is going to be a special show tonight. The gentleman that we have with us, well versed, you guys, in his profession. A lot of you guys may be looking for an agent down the road. He's got some information on us on the NIL side of things. So welcome to the Before You Go Pro channel. This is the Locker Room Show. I'm the host, Coach Wood. A lot of you guys are used to seeing the guru with me out of St. Louis, and hopefully he can join us here soon. Gurus in traffic, gurus in some Houston traffic. So we'll see if he can get with us. But we've got the man of the hour, you guys. And once again, certified NFL agent. This is someone I see as a friend now. He's been kicking butt. He's got some new information about a new agency that he is partnered with, and he is helping a lot of guys live their dreams. That's none other than the great Evan Brennan. How's it going, Evan?
Good. Thanks so much for having me on, Coach. Appreciate it.
Oh, no, whenever we can have you on, it's great. And I know it's been busy times, so I appreciate you. I don't know if you're getting any sleep, but I appreciate you joining us tonight. And you guys are in for a treat. We've had Evan on many times. He's always so gracious with his time. The thing that we love in the locker room, you guys, is that he keeps it 100. He's going to tell you like it really is, and he knows what he's doing. There's a lot of scammers in the football industry, so he's one that you can trust. You can take it to the bank, and he's got some great info to share with us tonight. So I'm excited to get into tonight's show. I see actually my mother-in-law who loves football saying checking in from the Mile High. Yes, that's a Broncos fan right there. But let's get into it, Evan. I mean, the first topic, and for those that are joining us for the first time, the topics are on the bottom ticker. The agent's perspective. The agent's perspective. I mean, obviously, we just had the draft, and many people see the athletes getting picked up, and they're with their families, but people don't really get to hear your perspective. So give us a little lead-up perspective, and maybe about 48 hours after the draft, what that looks like for an NFL agent.
Yeah, so there's a lot of phone calls that go in the weeks leading up to the draft. Teams are reaching out to you, making sure that, hey, you're so-and-so's agent's right. This is what we have on our records. What are you hearing, Evan? What round are you hearing? Is this an undrafted guy? Is this a mid-round guy? And so there's a lot of questions about that. Is your guy healthy? And sometimes they're trying to set up, late conversations with the guy via Zoom, maybe a late workout with a position coach, or they can even bring a guy in on what's called a 30 visit, where they bring in up to 30 players before the draft to get a medical evaluation, all kinds of stuff. Maybe the position coach just wants to get to know the guy better, see if he wants to coach him. And, they'll also kind of poke you for, hey, if he doesn't get drafted, would you have interest in doing an undrafted deal after the draft? All those things are taking place in the days leading up to the NFL draft. And it's a hectic time a little bit. You're also meeting with your players too, discuss with them, hey, if you don't get drafted, let's look at some rosters, look at the best fits for you. And you kind of have these conversations with your players leading up to the day of the draft, particularly the third day. So that's, it's a pretty 20-hour-ish kind of day, probably the couple days before the draft. And then the day of the draft, I mean, goodness gracious. My day started at 5:30 and I ended about 2 a.m. So it was a wild day.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, there's some perspective for you right there. So it's probably a lot of controlling emotions and sales, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing too is if you got some players that are, how shall I say, on the lower end of where NFL teams sit, you want to be really honest with them, and you want to sit them down a day or two with drafted. Look, I'm just not getting the action I'm looking for. I'm going to do everything I can to fight for you and put you in a really good spot, but there is a chance that things don't go our way. That's much more honest and ethical than letting a kid, think something great's going to happen on draft day. It doesn't. And there's some hard emotions with that. On the flip side, if you got a guy that's really rocking and rolling, you still want to kind of manage it. Look, it could go this way. I'm going to fight for it. You also could go just a little later in the draft, but I'm going to fight for you to go as high as possible. And I'm going to try to play some teams off each other. What you don't want to do is just make a kid feel that he totally got blindsided by anything good or bad. You just want to make sure that you have control over everything as an agent, and just an understanding of what could happen, and the player and their loved ones have it too, because it's super emotional for everybody involved.
Yeah. What's more likely, Evan? Is it more likely to have someone go later than you expected or earlier than you expected?
The joke among agents is the only guy that's ever happy on draft day is the number one overall pick. Everyone else thinks they should have gone higher. That's usually true. So what'll happen is you hear like, oh, this guy has X grade. Teams are usually trying to select a round or two lower than where they have a guy graded. So
Yeah,
if you have a fifth
makes
round
sense.
grade on a guy, there's fifth round grades that will go undrafted. There are many of those. They usually make up some of the best undrafted guys in terms of investment money that you'll see. But fifth round guy could easily be a sixth, seventh round pick. Seventh round guy could easily be a priority free agent. Fourth round guy could easily be, a sixth round guy. So when you hear about grades, I always try to set expectations around it through lower than where I hear the grade.
Smart, smart. No, this is very interesting. And for those that are just joining us, we're hoping that Guru can hop on. But even if he can't, we can dive a little bit deeper into this because this is very interesting. Talk to me about what the consensus, what makes a consensus for Evan Brennan? Is it four teams saying that a guy is third round? Is it the whole league? What makes the consensus for you?
That's an interesting thing too. Is you're only getting a couple teams calling. You get kind of skeptical, and it's where you have really 10 plus teams really calling, and some teams will call and sell. And if they call and sell you on how great the opportunity is, that they don't view your guy as a draft pick. They may say they have a draftable grade on him, sixth, seventh round, but they're really trying to recruit him as an undrafted guy. Teams that call and just kind of ask, "Hey, what are you hearing on him?" That's more likely a team that will draft your player. Because what I always say, you don't have to sell anybody if you're going to draft them. You just do it. And if they're trying to figure out the market, that's more likely kind of draft level interest. If they're selling you an opportunity, that's more of an undrafted guy.
Gotcha. That's great feedback right there for you young athletes because we've got some kids that are going to be on the bubble here shortly. So appreciate you sharing that. We're on to our next topic with the great Evan Brennan, certified NFL agent. He's dabbled a little bit in NIL, which he's going to share with us too. Who is the right client? I know that we've talked about this before, and I know that you just don't go with anybody. For Evan Brennan and your agency, JL, who's the right client? What does that look like?
On the NIL side, let's start there because a lot of these folks that are listening is going to be on the NIL side. It's someone that's going to be mature, sees the value in having somebody like this advise them, is going to, have a two-way communication at all times when crucial decisions come up, is going to give them access to their lives, is going to really view you as a critical part of their evaluation moving forward. Someone that the family, again, we have access to, and it's someone that at the end of the day is going to listen to us. We don't make decisions. We're hired guns, but we are trusted advisors. And so if you're someone that's looking for a trusted advisor and we really feel that, we're much more likely to work with you than somebody that doesn't view us that way. So that's the first thing. The other thing that we really look at is there's got to be real value. I mean, if no one's really on the NL side really willing to spend the money, then you may want to work on yourself before you look at representation. So we're looking for people that are actually going to have market value, to where money can be made. And if they want into the portal at some point, there's going to be a market, or advise them, hey, it's best if you stay and let's try to work with your current program in order to get as much money as we can and opportunity as we can. Hey, you probably need to want to develop here before we really want to test the market and anchor coaches, those kind of things. And so people that see the value in that, people that have value intrinsically for what they are as talent, we would find a lot of value in moving forward on the NIL side.
That's huge right there, you guys. And a lot of you guys are right there that are going to be listening to this. So this is pertinent information right there. I see my former teammate, the great Andy Pete, coming in. You would have got some NIL, Andy. So thank you for joining us, saying great stuff right there. And we see some other people, the great Coach Hughes coming in. What is considered market value? That's a great question. How does an athlete in the NIL space consider their market value?
What I would say is this: if you're getting Power Four offers coming out of high school, yeah, you're going to definitely want on an agent. And if you're getting the rest of Division One, G5, and even some high FCS offers, yeah, you probably want an agent. And even if you don't get the highest offers out of the FCS, you may still want an agent as you look forward to developing, because in future years you're seeing so many guys that started off at the FCS level that move up, later in their careers. And that kind of move could really be helped by an agent. So what I tell guys is if you're getting, any kind of G5 Power 4 offer, for sure you want an agent, and even some of the top FCS, because if you develop, you're going to have opportunities even later on.
Wow, that's a good point. It can happen like that, you guys. So, in your estimation, Evan, when should a parent start studying or an athlete about the NIL process?
Same time you're getting offers from colleges. It should kind of be the same kind
Okay.
of thing. It should be around the
Okay.
same time, because if
Wow.
they're starting to get offers, then there may be also some discussions about the NIL packages you may be getting.
Wow.
And so having an agent in place to help them with that can be really, really, really crucial around the same kind of time. And making a decision with an agent who should have some of those skill sets, some of those connections, some of those abilities to, evaluate you and put a valuation on you is really, really important. You want to ensure that you get the top place you want to go from a school standpoint, a program standpoint, a relationship standpoint, an educational standpoint, but also a dollars and cents standpoint. And if you can hit all those metrics, you're going to be in a really strong position.
Huge, huge. Wow, it's real, you guys. It's real. You're not waiting just to the NFL. A big time agency like Evan's agency might want to work with you even from high school going to college. So that's great information, you guys. We're on to our next topic. And for those that are just joining us, welcome. This is the Locker Room Show. I'm your host, Coach Wood. We've got the great agent, Evan Brennan, with us, and we're nailing on some topics right here, you guys. Speaking of representation, we recently had the Heisman finalists. To many people's shock, Evan, go undrafted. Undrafted. To make it that far, to play in the SEC and go undrafted is pretty shocking to many people. What do you think happened with his situation? And would you give him any advice if you guys were working with him?
Yeah, so here's what I heard. We talked about, setting expectations on the front ends, and I think that would
Yeah.
be a crucial thing. You have to realize Diego's a tremendous college player, undeniable. Heisman Trophy, all the way to finalist. You had to really, really respect the player as a college player. But what's important to understand is how someone is successful in college doesn't always translate to the NFL, nor for NFL talent evaluators. So, was an ideal size, didn't have a cannon for an arm, and so that limited some of the throws that he could make down the field. Did a lot of things with kind of a chaotic, all over the place style that NFL evaluators may not have felt would really translate to their league. And then there were some off the field immaturity things. You have one of those things, maybe not an ideal size, but everything else checks out. You can probably get away with that. Maybe a little immature, but you have outrageous size and talent. You can probably get away with that. But all those things together, that's a really, really bad concoction. I didn't speak with his representation, although I know who they are. But I imagine there was at least some attempt to kind of say, hey, this could go not exactly the way you want for a lot of reasons. We've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and we're not kind of getting the traction we want. But that's a tough conversation to have, especially with, that kind of spotlight on you. So, what I would tell folks is, hey, look, your agent should be your biggest advocate, but it also should kind of be the canary in the coal mine. If things just aren't looking great, the agent needs to have the ability to really sit you down and tell you some tough stuff. And it's not because his skill set's not there. If anything, if he's telling you early, it's because he has connections to tell you. And that should be highly, highly valued. And then lastly, there should be a plan in place. Hey, it may not work out in the NFL. Go be Doug Flutie. Go be in the CFL and earn your way back, which very well may happen with Mr. Pavi. I know he got that opportunity with the Ravens here, but still, the chances of him having from the get-go, at least an NFL career, are small. But it doesn't mean he can't go develop somewhere and come back. And having that kind of relationship, skill set, connection, and pivot value as an agent should be highly valued with any client.
Which one do you think was the harder one for the NFL teams? Was it the size, or was it the off the field?
A combination of the size and the arm. You can get around a lot of immaturity stuff if you have outrageous talent. I
Good
just
point.
think that you're that size with that weak of an arm. That's really tough for people to get over. So at the end of the day, I think that hurt him. And then the immaturity stuff just made it easier and easier and easier for teams to kind of just go, maybe not.
Wow. So, you young athletes, this is also high school to college. This is junior college to college. If you're not prototypical and you don't wow on the film, you better have the social stuff dialed in. That's what Evan's saying. So, appreciate that. And we did see some unfortunate decisions from Mr. Pavia at some critical times that probably did hurt him. But he's talented. At least college, he was talented. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. We're on to our next topic with Evan, and these are big time topics. So I'm so glad we got Evan on tonight. I mean, Evan, this is huge, and I know that you've been paying attention to this, but they're saying this is the first real big gambling scandal as far as a active player that's so high profile in college. For those that don't know, Brendan Sorsby transferring from Cincinnati to Texas Tech, is in a gambling addiction facility right now. So there's a lot of layers to this, Evan. And we talked NIL earlier. Does this change the NIL game for college programs? I mean, they put a lot of time and money. He's got a billboard in New York City. Do we have to reevaluate who we're giving the money to?
It's funny. I had a conversation today with actually a Big 12 university director of player personnel for a big school, and this topic came up. And we were just friends, so we're just kind of going back and forth on about this topic. And he goes, "You know what? When we're looking at big time transfers, we're going to do a little bit more homework than we normally do." And Evan, we do a lot of homework, and the ramifications of this, forfeiture of games, huge black eye, missing out on, you thought you had something on lock. If you're Texas Tech, this is your starting
Yeah.
quarterback. And it just radically changes your entire season now on what you're going to do. And so, I think it does. I think also you're going to see schools get heavily involved even more than they normally are in ensuring players aren't gambling. There's different states that have different orientations towards it. And I feel bad for some of these kids because it's shoved in their face so much that they live in certain states and they have so much access to it just on their phones. And so, the college, this director of personnel said, we're trying to really ensure our guys are super educated, that we really kind of monitor it because it can really happen to anyone at any time. And a lot of times stuff that happened years ago, Sorby's probably been after this for quite some time. I mean, we're hearing about an entire addiction that's gone on for a long, long time. And so it's something that could come back to bite you years later. If maybe you gave it up 2 or 3 years ago, but you made some bad bets, those are sins that won't wash away. And a lot of times skeletons come out of the closet. So colleges are nervous about this. And so I think you'll see institutions really, really educate players even more than they're doing. B, do a lot of background. And then lastly, have more, how shall I say, just people in people's lives constantly to ensure that this doesn't happen, because it's a nuclear bomb. It blows everybody up, and it's not going to go away anytime soon.
Wow, this is huge. I mean, like Evan said, they went all in, no pun intended, on this young man, and he probably is not going to be available, you guys. And I always tell you, there's roster spots that open up, or if you're a backup, stay ready, stay ready. But this is very unfortunate. Do you think he plays college football again, Evan?
John, I was actually talking to somebody else about him entering the supplemental draft.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, with that being said, him entering the supplemental draft, how do you think NFL teams would see? Would they be willing to still overlook what he's going through?
This goes back to my comment about Pavia. I mean, it's not. I mean, the supplemental draft works a lot different than the other draft, but I could see a team spending like a 7th round supplemental pick, a 6th round supplemental pick on him just because the talent's there. And if it doesn't work out, you're not out a huge draft pick. I mean, this guy had high round talent if he plays out, at the end of his collegiate career. And so to get a player of this talent level, late in the supplemental could be huge. He could go higher than that. I mean, I think the talent's there that if someone can get around the idea of, this is going to be something out of his life, then maybe. But I'm a little probably more conservative if I was a GM, and I probably wouldn't go crazy high. But I think he does get a shot at getting drafted in the supplemental draft, just lower to mitigate the risk and the skeletons that I think are going to exist there. Supplemental draft, you see a lot of guys that have baggage get drafted, and usually late in the supplemental draft just to kind of mitigate the baggage. So it'll just come down to how those interviews go, how the background checks go, and how much information teams can get on him and see if this is going to be an ongoing problem. When he goes pro, it's the same kind of thing. I mean, there's going to be so many people invested in trying to make sure this never happens again, because you're going to have the same problem in the pros, and the same temptations, maybe even tenfold in the pros to this. So for him, this is something he's just got to face head on, get over, and show teams that this is not going to be a problem moving forward and play ball.
You think there's more Brendan Sorsbys out there?
I do. I think in just the law of averages and the law of numbers say that, yes, there are. And that's what I was talking about, skeletons in the closet. It's just a matter of time before, unfortunately, the way of the world, things come out. So, yeah, I do.
Wow, this is huge. And you young athletes, please, I didn't do a good job of it during my career, learning from other people's mistakes. You guys learn from other people's mistakes. If you're gambling, watch it, because now they're Hawkeye. They're Hawkeye on this thing now. And some of these schools are going to start scrubbing guys a little bit harder before they give the big check. So thank you for sharing that. We're getting and that's why I love having Evan on. We're on to our next topic, you guys, and this one is a good one, Evan. I mean, if the NFL has a power broker meeting, some of the NFL organizations that are going to be invited. The Hines family, probably the Brown, the DeBartolos. Who's going to get invited, who's looked at as the upper echelon of NFL organizations. If we had to say there's going to be a huge, huge rule change in college football, and we only want to let the 4 top athletic directors of college football, as far as their programs, enter the boardroom first. Who are the major power brokers, Evan, in college football? If you had to pick 4 programs where they're going to get the inside information first, who would you say it is?
Most of them are going to reside in the top 2 conferences in the SEC and the Big Ten, for sure. So you're going to see, obviously, I think Ohio State and Michigan, both of them, they're just such huge forces in that. I think Texas, just the size of that athletic program, the dollars and cents of Texas, they make that cut. This may be a little controversial, but when you look at kind of the impact and the power that they've had, I actually say Notre Dame as the 4th one, as a sneaky one, because of their ability with NBC and just their massive pull. You could argue Oregon or USC out west. I mean, those are good choices too. But I think Notre Dame as the 4th one that I would pick. I mean, Georgia, Alabama, those are good ones too. I'm not sure that they have the amount of pull independently that the huge alumni institutions have at Michigan and Ohio State. But Notre Dame has a very powerful alumni base, a huge media contract, and the ability to influence all things. And Texas just has that, just makes so much money. And so that's why I say those 4 are my top 4.
Wow, and that's big right there. And we'll have to get the gurus on the next show. But yeah, that's big. I mean, and Notre Dame, yes, indeed, their own kind of TV deal, Touchdown Jesus. So that's what Evan is going with. He's saying Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, and Notre Dame. If something huge goes down in college football, and only 4 can know first, those are going to be the schools that know. And those are hard to dispute with right there. We are on to our next topic. You guys, ripping and running with the great agent Evan Brennan. You guys, he's working with NIL. Guys, NFL contracts. So this is the guy to know. Many of you guys may want his contact after this show, you guys. So the lightning round, and Evan has been through the lightning round before. This is our opportunity to put our guest through a little word association. Evan has 60 seconds to get through my list of people, topics, and tell us the first thing you guys comes to his mind when we get through our list. So I'm excited for this because he cooked, I think, on the last one. We'll see how he does on this one. And as you know, Evan, you got a dinner on the Locker Room Show. if you can get to 16 or higher. So 16 is our number from the great Zaire Young, who may be one of your clients down the road. We'll talk offline about that. And then the great Darius Bell. The great Darius Bell both got 16. So if you're joining us for the first time, he gets 1 for tech delay. So even 15 puts him in the mix. And then we have our new section, Evan, the Strike It Gold section, where you can get 2 points too. So if he wins the dinner, it's on the guru. It's on the guru because he didn't show up tonight. So that's how we're rocking and rolling. Let's get the stopwatch ready. We've got him at zeros, and he's got 60 seconds. All right. Let's get everything set up. All right, Evan, you ready to rock and roll?
Let's roll, Coach.
All right, baby. So first thing that comes to your mind, do not elaborate, or that's going to jeopardize your time. All right, first thing that comes to your mind. Number one with the great Evan Brennan. Lavelle Edwards, go.
Greatest coach of all time.
Chinese food or Mexican food?
Mexican food.
Roger Goodell.
Commissioner.
NIL.
Money, money, money.
Ashton Genty or Jeremiah Love?
Jeremiah Love.
Favorite superhero growing up?
Batman.
Lawrence Taylor or Myles Garrett?
Lawrence Taylor.
Steve Young or Zach Wilson, BYU days?
Steve Young.
He's cooking. You guys' favorite ice cream topping?
Pecans.
The transfer portal. 50 seconds.
Way to make some money.
Bahamas or Dubai?
Dubai.
Andy Reid.
Chiefs.
He did well. He did well, you guys. We're going to give him that one. So, hey, he's in the mix. 16 is the number. We got the great Evan Brennan. Now, he gets 1 for tech delay, and then we've got our strike a goal section with our trivia questions. So, let's add them up and read. He did well, you guys. So, number 1 was Lavelle Edwards. We're talking to a BYU Cougar right here. So, he says, greatest coach of all time. Chinese food or Mexican food? He says, give me the Mexican food, coach. Number 3, Roger Goodell. He says, the commish. Number 4, NIL. He says, money, money, money. Number 5, Ashton Genty or Jeremiah Love. He says, give me the young one, Jeremiah Love. Number 6, favorite superhero growing up. He says Batman. Number 7, Lawrence Taylor or Myles Garrett. He says, I'm going old school, Lawrence Taylor. Number 8, Steve Young or Zach Wilson, BYU days. He says Steve Young. Number 9, favorite ice cream topping. He says pecans. Number 10, transfer portal. Way to make some money. Number 11, Bahamas or Dubai. He says, give me Dubai. Number 12, Andy Reid. He says the Chiefs. So with the tech delay, he's at 13. And we got the trivia question. Now, he can't win it. He can't get to the 16 because he can get to 15, but he can get the number 2 prize, So let's go on to our trivia question. And if you do have a question for Evan, this is the time. If you're with us live, the comment section's open. If you do have a question for Evan, then now is the great time to put it in. I see my wife say extra points for Steve Young. She's going old school too. She knows her football. But the trivia question for 2 points to get to 15, Evan, who is the first and only team to go 0-16 in an NFL season? Is it A, the Detroit Lions? Is it B, the Cleveland Browns? Is it C, the New York Jets? Or is it D, the New Orleans Saints?
I'm going to say the Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions for 2 points. Is Evan right? He is right. Ladies and gentlemen, the Detroit Lions went 0-16. That is a long season. That's a long season. Guys were calling their agents, Evan, on that one. So 2008, Evan is right. The Detroit Lions, ladies and gentlemen, 0-16. So Evan got to 15. Very cool. I think the pecans. I think if you could have got through the pecans a little
I
quicker, we would
know.
have got
I know.
we could have got to
That was a
16.
good
But
question, though.
yeah. But thank you indeed. I know you're working hard. We wish you the best of luck, Evan. Just before you get out of here, a young athlete who's going into his senior year in college, let's say he's playing power forward ball. Let's say he's a little on NFL draft teams' radars. What should that young man be locked in on?
Stay healthy. If he's on NFL radars, stay healthy. Stay healthy, stay healthy, stay healthy. Just really clean up, your interviewing skills, your personal skills, anything in your personal life that you're not feeling great about, get it right. Because everyone's going to find out and everything's going to come. If there's something in your life that ain't going good in your personal side, clean it up because you don't want to have the regret of what could have been had you just taken care of it and made some better decisions. That will haunt you 20, 30 years down the road would be my thing. And play ball, enjoy it, have fun. Goodness gracious, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you'll always have the memories. And if you spend all that time worried about stuff that may or may not come to fruition, goodness gracious, enjoy life and play football. That's my advice. Be a good person, play ball, and stay healthy.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, hey, we're going to leave on that note. As far as contact info, I see Coach Hughes coming in and his son is about to go play some big time college ball. What's the best way for people to find you?
Email address real easy. I look at it probably 50 times a day. So you'll get me. It's my first name, Evan, at JL, J as in Jason, L as in Larry, sportsagency.com.
Okay. All right. So, hey, Evan at jlsportsagency.com, Coach Hughes, anybody that watches the recording of this, Evan at jlsportsagency.com, one of the best in the game. And I've known him for over a decade. You guys, you get the honest truth with this man, which is hard to find in today's football industry. So, Evan, thank you for joining us tonight. Appreciate you.
Coach. Appreciate you.
All right. All right. All right, you guys. So that is the great Evan Brennan, you guys, an amazing sports agent. You guys, he's worked with some of our athletes. I know the Ferris family. Unfortunately, we couldn't have Guru tonight because he got locked up in work, but he will be back with us next week. I already have a feel for who next week's guest is, and this is a big-time player. This is a big time. If we get who we're supposed to have, you guys, we're talking college and NFL quarterback coming in tomorrow night or next week, to the Locker Room Show. So, hey, a lot of you guys are going to have to run this one back because you guys are active young student athletes that are trying to get after it. Some of you guys do have your eyes on NFL contracts and NIL deals. This was a lot of sauce. This was a lot of good advice tonight. So make sure you run it back. Make sure you share it with your friends. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, baby, so that you can rock and roll with the channel. Also, if you are a young athlete, this is big time right now for the 2027 class. We are with athletes across the country. We've talked to many today. We were talking to colleges today. So if you are an athlete that needs some recruiting support, or an athlete that needs some recruiting support, check us out. Check out the resources we have at beforeyougopro.com. And also we've got NILLLC.org, NILLLC.org, where you can get some education on how to run your camp, how to start your merch, how to do the NIL thing the right way, you guys, because they're only teaching you half of the pie. They're only showing you half of the pie. There's a whole nother side of the pie. There's an entrepreneurial side of the pie to that NIL that's just waiting for you guys. And we're going to teach it to you. All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed tonight's show. Thank you, my dear, for a great show. And as always, subscribe. You better be subscribed. That's my wife, you guys. You better be subscribed. After it, we'll see you at the top. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.